talk a little bit about why I am so critical of the press. Thank you to the founding sponsor of unDivided, 1530 Mortgage. Visit them at 1530mortgage.com. This isn't newfound media criticism for me. You know, I have ramped it up certainly since I left the mainstream media, but I was offering the exact same types of criticism of my profession when I was on TV news, when I was with Fox. I was very critical of the press in Seattle, for example, for their coverage of politicians and the lackluster response to riots that we had in the city.
Reporters here don't think they have an obligation to point out things going on that don't make a bit of sense.
And while I was at Fox TV in Seattle, I was also critical of my friends in the press for focusing so much of their time and power and energy on covering Republicans and vilifying Republicans when we have virtually no Republicans in power around here. And my argument being that they should be spending the majority of their time holding Democrats accountable, because our jobs are to hold the powerful accountable. And in our state, Democrats are the powerful. Democrats are the ones who are in power. So I want to, make that clear first and foremost, that just because I left mainstream media, that's not when I all of a sudden decided it was time to criticize the press. I had been doing that, and it was very difficult to do it while I was still in it, but I had been doing that in my job at Fox TV. But there's one other thing that I want to make sure to note. My criticism of the media is not wholesale. And I compare it to my criticism of the city of Seattle. I am very hard on politicians in Seattle. I'm very hard on the state of the city, on the state of downtown. And I've said it before that it's because I believe it's one of the most wonderful cities in the world. And to see it in such a state of disrepair is absolutely heartbreaking. And so the critical nature of my coverage of Seattle comes from a place of care and concern and belief in what the city can be. And the same sentiment goes to the press. The press is one of the most important institutions in the world, but in some aspects, it is crumbling. It can do better, and it has to do better. There is still so much important work happening in the media. There are journalists out there who are doing difficult work, dangerous work on behalf of the public, and they deserve credit and recognition for that. Benjamin Hall comes to mind. Of course, he's the Fox News correspondent who was critically injured while covering the war in Ukraine, and 2 other members of his team were killed. Benjamin Hall finally came out, tweeted this week about what happened to him, how he lost a part of one leg, a foot on the other, how he lost his eyesight in one eye, how he felt grateful to be alive. And I think about what happened to Benjamin Hall and the work that him and his team were doing and the fact that 2 of them were killed. I think about correspondents like Clarissa Ward with CNN, who has gone into some of the most dangerous environments to keep the public informed. I think about Jennifer Griffin with Fox News, who's just an all-around badass, isn't afraid to call out her own network when she feels like their coverage is lacking. There are, and I want to make clear and be clear that I believe this, there are remarkable journalists out there doing such important work that is far more difficult than anything that I could do sitting here giving my opinion to you. And it's because of journalists like that the rest of us have an obligation to do the best possible job that we can. Americans have grown increasingly wary and critical of the press, and I don't blame them. But sometimes Americans don't use the nuance in their conversations about the media that I think it demands. The realization that not all members of the press are bad, not all members of the press are biased and lying to you or manipulating stories. Some are, and it's a problem, because when they fall short of their responsibilities, everyone else in the press suffers as a result. Thank you to the founding sponsor of unDivided, 1530 Mortgage. Visit them at 1530mortgage.com.